Hi friends, this is Wendy. I'm so excited that you're here with me today. We are going to be using the coffee cup card dies from Honeybee, and this is a new to me die. I picked this up when I was at the anniversary retreat in March. I had so much fun shopping and finding all kinds of cool goodies, and I thought that I would make a belated birthday card for a family member using this. And I think I'll go ahead and stick a little Starbucks card on the inside. There also is a gift card holder coffee cup type die set as well. I also picked up these awesome cutting plates for my Anna Griffin. These are the large plates. Right now, I cannot find any of the regular size magnets in any of the stores. So I went ahead and grabbed these large plates, and I am so glad I did. I was able to cut that really big coffee cup die, and then you're able to cut lots and lots of smaller dies. And Honeybee does have those available for sale if you need one. So here I decided to use the Pet Friends stencils, and I'm just showing you a little trick here. I went through and numbered all of my stencils using a black Sharpie marker. This is something I basically have to do to use stencils. I don't have very good vision, and for me, having them numbered with a black marker is a huge help. So I've sped this up quite a bit because it took me quite a while to stencil all of these little images. This is a really great project to do when you're just relaxing, watching a movie, enjoying the day, and you want to create something really cool. If you wanted to be able to get multiple cards out of one stenciling session, you could stencil a 5.5 or 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 piece of cardstock using these stencils. This stencil is 6 by 6. I just wanted to stencil on the front of my little coffee cup here, so I didn't do that, but that is a tip. If you are wanting to make multiple cards, you always could stencil on a larger sheet of cardstock and then cut it into smaller pieces. I do recommend cutting it a little bit smaller than 6 by 6 because you want the stencil to stick to your sticky mat to hold its place while you're stenciling. All right, so I'm going in with picked raspberry here and putting in some little details. I'm using the Honeybee brushes to add color in all the teeny tiny areas. These little brushes are angled and they come in so handy when you're trying to get into little areas. And each layer kind of separates out all the pieces so that you're not accidentally going into a spot you shouldn't with the wrong color, if that makes sense. So I found that I really didn't have to use masking tape to cover areas because I was using these small brushes and the stencil was well laid out so that there was no risk of overlap. So I just grabbed a bunch of different ink colors and kind of just went to town with this. When you're creating with one of these stencils, the biggest tip that I could share would be to kind of think about the color combinations that you want up front before you start your stenciling process and what you want the overall look and feel to be before you choose your colors. I stuck with kind of brighter, bolder colors here, but ultimately I wanted my color scheme to just feel fun and happy and cheerful. So those were the kind of the colors that I went with. We've got, I think this is Savage Patina for these little paw prints. I love like teals and pinks and greens and yellows together. I just think they're really pretty. So as I'm going through, you can see that these look a little funny to start with. And then as each layer builds, they make more sense and they look better and better. And by the end, it is the most adorable thing you're ever going to see. Now, coffee cups generally aren't covered in little animals, but I have so many friends that are animal lovers, and it's not unusual for me to miss somebody's birthday and be late giving them a birthday card, or of course always needing a birthday card late type situation. So, I think this ended up being really, really cute and something a little bit different and fun, not your norm. So for all of the shading and the ink blending, I chose to go really light at first and then layer on more color. After getting each area ink blended, I went back in and made a few decisions if I needed to add anything else to kind of, finish out each little animal. And ultimately, these stencils were so well thought out that they really didn't need that. I didn't really need to add any more details or do anything extra. So after I got done doing all of my ink blending, I decided I needed to ink blend the little topper, the lid, because it was just stark white. So a tip for you on anything that is white, you often want to add some sort of shadow, just a little bit of a shadow, because it will help whatever it is to kind of look more white. I don't know what that is. I don't know why that's a thing. I don't know the science behind it, but I do know it's true. So I try to go in and always add some shadows, even when I want something to appear white. Here, I'm just finishing up some of the details on each of the animals, and then at the top, you'll notice that I really didn't do any ink blending up there. That's because that entire top piece is going to get covered by my lid. So I didn't really feel like it was necessary to ink blend all the little parts and pieces at the very top of this cup. All right, now I'm just adding a couple of little details that I missed, and then we're going to use some antique linen. This is Desert Storm cardstock, and I'm just going around the edges of it to give it just a little bit of dimension and, a little bit of extra by adding a little bit of darker color to the edges. And then we're going to come in with that lost shadow on the white lid, and we'll add a little bit of shadow to this lid. I did consider grabbing my Copic markers and coloring it with some C1s, but ultimately I decided that then it might distract from the look of the rest of the ink blending because it wouldn't be the same feel and texture. So I went ahead and opted to just add a little bit of that lost shadow. I'm using my Honeybee Intense Black ink here to ink up the sentiment. I used the Pet-tastic stamp set for this, and it says, "Doggone it, I missed your birthday." And I think this is so cute because it was a very common phrase growing up. Doggone it was a very common phrase in our household. So I thought that was a really cute little phrase to use on the top of this, and putting it on the lid of this coffee cup is the perfect place to add your sentiment. You could also add your sentiment on the little coffee holder, the piece that goes around it. What is that called? A sleeve? But I decided not to, and I decided to ink blend another little doggy and put it on the front of the coffee cup sleeve. And I actually feel like that looks cuter, and I'm really glad I ended up doing that. So this is what the card will look like when they take the sleeve off. It'll have all these cute little animals on it. And when the sleeve is on, you won't see as much of that, but you'll have another little cute doggy on the front. So in the coffee die set, you get the pieces for the sleeve, the card base, the lid, and then there's a few other little elements, like there is a little circle that goes on the front of the coffee sleeves, and that little circle I decided to die cut and ink blend in green. I added a really strong double-sided adhesive to the tabs on this little sleeve, and then I went ahead and put it together, and this is how it looks on the card. Isn't that cute? So it keeps the card shut with the sleeve. You pull it off, and then you can open up the card, and I have a couple little goobers there that I had to wipe off. All right, we're going to use Twisted Citron and blend this little circle, but I already had some ink on this blending brush, so it ended up being a mishmash of green, which was totally fine. It came out green in the end. That's all that mattered. So I was going for the green because there's the green turtles and the green leaves in the background, and I thought that that would look nice. So I ink blended that up and then glued it to the front of the sleeve. And then for adding the doggy, I decided that I would put the doggy on foam tapes so that it would pop up and not be flat to the card, just to add a little bit more interest, one more little fun element. After that, I went through my gems and pastel, or my rhinestones and my, what do they call those things? Pearls. And I found the Let's Party gems and decided that those were the ones I wanted to add to the front of this card. I just think this is so cute. I would love to get a card like this in the mail or given to me. I just love dogs. I'm a huge animal lover, so I think this is adorable. So I went through all of my embellishments and I decided on the Let's Party gems. I started to open that pack, but I noticed that I already had an open pack of them. You can tell that these are well loved. And so, yeah, I gravitated towards these and went ahead and added a few of those, and it was all done. So that's basically the card. Adding those few gems, and then it's all finished. This will fit in a regular envelope, so you don't have to have any sort of fancy envelope to mail this. It's about 5.5 inches tall. I was able to cut a piece of 4 1/4 by 11 inch cardstock and cut the base of this from that, so you're good to go to put it in a regular envelope. I absolutely love how this turned out. I think it's so stinking cute. Perfect for any animal lover. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.